Hardly have you ever heard the name Natascha Kampusch or saw her face, but in Austria, the story of this girl thundered everywhere. Girl who was stolen at the age of 10, and they held captive 3,096 days. Not only managed to escape the kidnapper, but also tried to survive from their experience maximum benefit, starting to tell your story and helping. Victims of similar crimes, 2nd of March 1998, a woman called the Vienna police station. She introduced herself Brigitte Sirny and reported that her 10-year-old daughter Natascha Kampusch is missing. It turned out that the day before the girl came from vacation who spent with her father in Hungary, and on Monday, already in vain, went to school from which she did not return, a woman called an educational institution, but there said that Natascha missed lessons this day. When the mother decided to go to the police, the girl began to search immediately. First thing surveyed route from campus, house or schools, and also checked the nearest ponds. Search connected service dogs, but they couldn't smell the child's trail. Police suggested that Natascha was kidnapped and began interviewing possible witnesses to the crimes. Turning to the guards of order, 12-year-old schoolgirl said, "What saw as missing the girl was forcibly seated in a white van. The police decided to check all suitable for the description of the machine." Also, searches started in Hungary, where Natascha recently arrived from. The girl had documents with her. Investigators suggested that, willingly or not, Natascha could have crossed the border. At this time, law enforcement is in sight. Got hit by a former technician, Wolfgang Priklopil, who owned a wine minibus similar to that who rode. A young witness to the crime man's explained that he needs a car to transport building materials. Investigators conducted a standard survey during which it became clear that Wolfgang has no alibi. On March 2nd, he was home alone all day. During the investigation, the police had to check about 700 cars and poll about the same amount car owners. The clapper was not paid due attention. He did not arouse suspicion from anyone about the man. Soon, everyone forgot without even guessing what's in the secret room size, which barely reached 5 square meters. He hides a scared 10-year-old girl. The room in which Natascha lived was at a depth of 2.5 meters underground. There were no windows in it, vent only providing fresh air. The closet was locked with 2 doors, one of which weighed a centner and a half. The room was completely soundproof. Therefore, all attempts Natascha make as much noise as possible to get attention were vain. You could only enter the room through the garage. The first door was hiding behind a nondescript closet. For 6 months, Natascha was banned from leaving her makeshift prison, but later, when a man felt from the girl increasing self-confidence, started releasing it for a short time to walk. Also, he furnished the room. So how did Natascha want it? The girl got a TV record board, table and chair. All this time, the kidnapper brought her in large quantities of books, game magazines. In 2004, investigator looking for Natascha went on a false trail. They assumed, what is the D? Frenchman connected with the disappearance of the girl, Michelle Fittings, convicted of similar crimes. True, there was no convincing evidence of his involvement. Meanwhile, Clapt, increasingly convinced of the ideality of his crime. In 2005, he relaxed and started releasing Natascha. Walk not only around the house, but also around the garden. A year later, he even allowed girl swim in the neighbor's pool. Rumor has it that one day he took 17-year-old Natascha to ski resort, taking care of that so his captive wouldn't have a chance to escape. Priklopil goals. Information varies according to Natascha herself. He kidnapped her for that till she's doing chores. Wolfgang followed the regime of her day and tried to his captive keep. reading books while the man was telling her that exit from the asylum is mined, so the girl won't be able to get out of there without him, and sometimes threatened with physical violence, asserting that he has aggressive accomplices periodically and used force himself. He tried to calm his captive. However, Natascha still managed to escape. This happened in year 2008, when the clutch asked a girl to vacuum the car interior, and at this time, he was distracted by a phone call. Natascha left the vacuum cleaner on and ran away. Where are the eyes looking? She was knocking on all the doors of the nearest houses and asked for help. As a result, an elderly woman responded to her call, who called the police when Priklopil tried to detain, but he died, leaving chase. Natascha genuinely burst into tears when I found out about it because of her reaction to the death of a teacher. Journalists suggested that girl developed golem syndrome, but campus itself denies it and claims that always counted Wolfgang not more than a criminal. Natascha's story was widely publicized. For a long time, the girl was afraid to talk about her experience, but with time came to her senses and began to communicate with journalists. She even released an autobiographical book, 3,096 Days, on which the film of the same name was made. Also, she hosted her talk show on TV, demonstrating thus to the public that recovered from psychological trauma and was able to overcome her distrust of people. Part of the money earned, namely 25,000 euros, she donated to a woman named Elizabeth Fritz, who for many years lived in captivity of her own father also. Kampusch became a member of the organization People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. She even wrote a letter, Austrian Minister of Agriculture, in which she stated animals, if they could escape like me, because life in captivity, life full of deprivation, you decide whether sociable should smart and wonderful creatures be freed from chains and cages. Where are they kept by ruthless people? Now Natascha is fond of drawing studies, photo art. Speaking about the nature of his imprisonment, claims then, even though it was a hard time, now she lives as she wants and not tormented by feeling that as a child. I missed something important, by the way. The girl inherited the house where the captives lived. He is still listed in her property. Natascha told reporters what keeps the house clean, since its walls, in which the terrible part of her childhood passed, have pyrotechnic actions on the girl. Although such crimes inspire horror, Natascha's story could be an example of that. How can man be reborn from the ashes and keep doing good, despite that what evil he had to endure to survive and not go insane? Natascha had to hide from reality, imaginary world, of course. I had hoped to escape. I had so many plans for life that I just couldn't give up, said Natascha in one of the interview. Style, former prisoner of the Clapper, leads a fairly active lifestyle. What causes bewilderment and irritation of the public, according to generally accepted opinion? After Natascha escaped campus, had to get depressed, then go to a mental hospital for treatment, and then lead a solitary lifestyle. Well, campus did not refuse an interview, although she provided journalists with only that information which I wanted. Besides, she made a career in television in the year 2008 for 2 months. She hosted a talk show and then wrote a book of memories. Kidnapping Natascha Kampusch is that theme which does not lose interest for more than 10 years. 5 years later, her father is Ludwin K.O. in his work accused his daughter of lying. Book reviews. Natascha Kampusch mixed her story did not leave anyone indifferent, but the book 3,096 Days doesn't clear up much of the story about the kidnapper and his victim dreams of living free, the main thing that helped her survive in captivity, as Natascha claims.